Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments. Ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR. Practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company. Attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA. Chiro Script AI. Chiro Moguls. Pure Chiro Notes. 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 731 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Kevin Ross. And if you want to hear about Koren Specific Technique and how it's making major breakthroughs, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today, I have with me Kevin Ross. Really excited. He is with the Koren Specific Technique, and we're going to talk all things Koren Specific Technique today. But before we get into this episode, I'm going to let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. As we all know, the past couple of years have been kind of a touch and go with what we can say, what we can't say, and censorship is real, and we'd never do that to you. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. If you need any guidance with any of that, reach out to a chiropractor in your community. I'm sure they'd be really happy to help you out with you and your family's health. I know I shouldn't have to say this, but I do say this, but we do support and believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. I know they're taking that out of some of the vernacular and the education at the schools. So if you know a chiropractic student out there that needs this message, please share the show with them. Everybody needs to understand that subluxation is a real component to the chiropractic profession. We also protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, go in and check out BJ Palmer's last written words. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you did before previously, I guarantee you. Even if you've been practicing for 3 decades, go and find the sacred trust, read it, fall back in love with this amazing profession. Last, we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence and educated intelligence. It sounds pretty woo-woo, but it's all real. That's the cornerstone of philosophy within chiropractic. We believe the body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. When a chiropractor corrects a subluxation, it connects man or woman the physical to man or woman the spiritual. And with that creates educated intelligence. So that's our introduction. This is Dr. Kevin Ross. Welcome to the show.
Man, great having me. I really appreciate you, brother. I really do. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you know, it's a labor of love for me. I've been doing this, like I said, July 4th will be our 8th year of doing the Chiro Hustle podcast. So creating a North Star project and not veering off of that was really important to me when I made this mission a couple years ago. So now I get a chance to speak to the greatest minds in this healing art of chiropractic. So I'm honored to have you on.
Thank you very much.
I like to open up with your story. Like, how did you decide chiropractic was the right thing for you?
Chiropractic was not the right thing for me. I was actually going to be the masseuse on the Love Boat. I'm showing my age with that comment. I was going to travel the world, massage beautiful women. Life was going to be awesome. Grew up actually giving massages all through grade school, junior high, high school. Loved the human body, loved giving massage, all that sort of stuff. And my dad got a hold of me. He had actually been rear-ended on the freeway, broke the seat, and a chiropractor basically got him back to life. And he said, you know, son, trust me, that's really not probably going to go very far for you. Why don't you try chiropractic? So I applied, got accepted. And a week before I went to chiropractic college, I got my first adjustment. Had never been adjusted before, had applied, got accepted, was going to go be a chiropractor and had no idea what the crap I was doing. So came in a little bit different than a lot of people do. And once I got to school, was at Palmer College in Iowa and absolutely fell in love with it, man. It radically changed my world. I have no one in my family that is medical oriented. Everyone is engineers. So I'm kind of the groundbreaking, rule breaking, what the crap are you doing sort of person doing chiropractic.
Yeah, but the engineering within chiropractic is on the neurological pattern and on the organ system and the taking the interference out of the nervous system. So it's a different type of engineering.
Oh, big time. Well, the understanding of it. But engineers, man, they typically are black and white. And in the chiropractic world, we deal in gray, man. We deal in gray a lot. And if you're black and white, it's a little bit harder to communicate, but absolutely.
How long did it take you as you got into Palmer for you to start understanding the philosophy of the profession?
It was the first semester I took in the first year for us at Palmer. We had philosophy with Virgil Strang. And for most people, they tuned out, had no idea. And it was like this laser focus in my brain that I'm like, this matters a lot. And so when I was at school, I became a campus guide at Palmer. And then they had a whole library of old folks that, Fred Barge and do you have ever heard the names Esther and Arthur Mork?
No, don't know those names.
See, this is where the history matters. They are some of the most beautiful people, have been in practice for like 75 years. But anyways, anything that I can learn from the old folks, I sucked it up. And the chiropractic philosophy got stuck on me hard from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I think that that's a big part of this show is we want to preserve the philosophy and the profession. And I know that the scope of influence to create the future chiropractor is going a bit more medically modeled. And I think that it's important for us to continuously talk about philosophy, make it front and center, make it important, because the future generation needs it. And just like you came in the early 90s and went to Palmer and had Virgil Strang, like think about like how valuable it was to have access to a legend like that.
Yeah.
At that, like when you were being planted into the chiropractic earth, like when they were planting your seed, like imagine if guys like Virgil Strang weren't there.
Yeah. Best soil a person could ever have, right? It's a seed in the soil. And in this case, I had beautiful soil to grow in. And I am grateful to this day for what I had. And unfortunately, it's not out there a lot. It is the philosophy, as you know, has been watered down and lost in a lot of schools and a lot of places, and a lot of kids coming out of school that don't really understand the source.
Yeah, that's another big cornerstone for this show is I know that, every time I meet somebody and they're a bit on the mixer edge, they're like, well, you're so like philosophy guy. And I'm like, no, I'm fundamental guy. I'm believe in truth guy. I believe in preserving the dignity of the profession guy. And I think that we have to have those fundamentals and plant those roots really deep to where it can't be uprooted and pulled away and thrown away, because if not, we lose our identity as a profession. And, people think I'm like the bang the drum hardcore guy that just wants to talk philosophy. No, I want to preserve philosophy. And I think that that's why this show thrives the way it does, is because we focus on a different method of communication that most of the chiropractic profession doesn't continuously talk about.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is realistically, all of us function with some philosophical base. I mean, all of us do that. Our lives run on, if you peel away the layers, there's a core philosophical how I'm going to approach life and whatever that is. If the Christians or however that is, whatever that base is. And for us to be true to the idea of innate intelligence, there's this inborn wisdom within the human body that guides and directs all those actions. If we don't have that, if you're out there and trying to be a chiropractor and work with this human body, it's why so many chiropractors fail or sell their soul to other stuff and give up, because they don't have a foundation to stand on. So I'm grateful that you're out there and that there's other folks out there like you that want to preserve and communicate. Every single time that we're at a seminar, that is what I start with at every seminar, is the philosophy to start and ground with and then build from there.
Well, it's the foundation, it's cornerstone, it's the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And if you're not practicing congruent with philosophy, you're just manipulating. So I just make sure people understand that chiropractic adjustment is specific technique, and we'll talk more about technique as our chat goes forward. But I'm really curious about, I know you reached out to me because you're part of the Koren Specific Technique, and you're an administrator and you're doing some teaching. Talk to me about the KST and why did you choose that that group to work with?
Well, I tried not to, very honestly. So in my practice before KST, I started with KST in 2010. Up to that point, I was Palmer package, flat bench, subluxation-based, no modalities. Highest day in practice was 122 patients, 50+% pediatric, all cash. I was doing well without KST. Ted started sending out these brochures with some really cool results on them. And I'm like, that's cool, but I don't do that. That's cool. I don't do that. I kept throwing away. And I would tell you, James, as close to the audible voice of God, and I've said this story so many times, it was take the work. And I'm sitting there going, holy crap, I think I need to do this work. Signed up for the seminar. They moved it from Arizona, took it to California. I'm travel, food, all this stuff. And I'm like, I have no idea why I'm doing this other than I hear this voice in my head. But I would tell you, it changed my life. 2010, I started with them. By 2011, I had started being a mentor with them. And in 2012, started teaching. I was the first person that Dr. Ted had actually left the room with. I am grateful for that man every day. He had started something, and I started attending 2 and 3 seminars a year just to keep growing and learning, doing more that I could with KST, and continue to fall in love with it.
So let's talk about the method a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
Why does it work?
Ultimately, it works because of innate intelligence. I've told folks, and I've said this openly multiple times, I think KST is as close to BJ Palmer chiropractic as you can get. And I say that very boldly, but because there is innate intelligence, what Dr. Ted Koren put together is a mechanism, a means to get out of the body what it knows for itself. There's a quote from D.D. Palmer about when educated intelligence can communicate with innate intelligence, we'll have proper diagnosis. It's a great DD quote. And I really think that's what KST is. And so it allows us to tap into the innate intelligence using what's called an occipital drop check. I've always said KST is weird, but it's not, but it is. It comes across weird, but it allows us to talk innate intelligence, figure out what that body needs. And then realistically, any other technique out there can utilize it to get at what they would do and do it better.
So let's talk about how it integrates with other techniques. I know off camera we were talking about how it can integrate with like torque release technique. How would you like use KST and integration with that technique?
So the basic core of KST is what Ted put together is what's called priorities. We will prioritize our day, our time, our finances. Our bodies prioritize issues. Our bodies know what they need and they have an opinion on it. So what KST allows us to do is get out of the body what it's looking for, what it needs, and in what order, and the best way to approach that. And so some of our mentors, one of my friends, Dr. Casey Pride, he is quantum neurology certified. He has over 200 hours in AK, does a lot of amazing stuff. But what he has said is KST becomes his hub, and whatever else he does functions off of that hub to figure out, is it best to do that? Is it better to adjust it to that way? Is it better to adjust him standing, laying, sitting, in motion? That's kind of the beauty of KST, is allows us to do all of those things, adjust people at whatever mechanism their body needs best to best clear out a subluxation. And the idea also to not address compensations, but truly adjust subluxations. And there's a massive difference in those two things.
It sounds a lot like you learn how to make a key for each person each time. Like everybody has like a key in a pattern that they're in at that moment. And over time it will shift and change. So you have to rekey them every time you check them.
That is a really great way to describe it. Yeah, because most chiropractors, very honestly, if they find C5 every time they come in, they're gonna, adjust at C5 because that's what they found and that's what they're fixing. But the reality is our bodies do have an ebb and flow to them. They can change. And KST allows us to look at each one of those changes every single time a person comes in, look at the different physical, chemical, and emotional components, right? The 3 T's of subluxation. And KST allows us to look at all of those, all of them in physical, chemical, and emotional, and address those individually, specifically, and use whatever techniques a person's trained in to do that best.
So one of the things you sent me some advanced notes on were subluxation versus compensation. I know you just talked about that a little bit. Explain that to our audience and what that means to you.
So the basic premise that I teach people is the human body, what I said earlier, is, everything the body needs, the body knows. It is an incredibly wise organism. It knows what it needs. And the body will fix itself. But if the body cannot fix itself, it will adapt to that stress. It'll adapt to the environment. And so what happens a lot of times, and I'll give an example in my office, and this happens a lot. I go through a full exam. I check people thoroughly. I'll lay them face up. We'll do a full exam, full range of motion, left side of the neck, right side stuck, C5, right occipital fibers, very, very consistent pattern. Don't adjust anything, sit them up, do priorities and adjust it. And I've had it where I've adjusted a pubic bone and a knee, nothing else. Lay them back down, C5, completely full total range of motion, zero other issues with that. But most chiropractors feeling where there is that loss of motion will say, we've got to get that moving. But that C5 in that individual is a compensation, not a subluxation. The subluxation was other places that needed to be addressed. And that's why I do love KST, is allows us to look at what truly is the underlying issue, not necessarily how it manifests in loss of motion or what would possibly feel like a fixation that a lot of times people deal with.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I just interviewed this lady, Mandy Keene, on the other podcast that I'm doing called Get Better Faster. And she built a system called understand.me. If you guys go to the website, it's pretty cool. But understand.me is like a personality test. And she basically compiled the Enneagram, the Myers-Briggs, the love languages, and like a couple other tests. And she compiles them into one protocol. So it like basically gives you an analysis of where all of your personality traits are. And I think when people don't know and they don't test themselves, like what you're talking about with priorities, they don't know who they really are from an energetic standpoint and a personality standpoint. So I think the more that we start to understand like this emotional side of the person, like the love language side of the person, the Enneagram side of the person, we can start to understand who they are as a personality. But a lot of that, I'm sure, goes right into this emotional subluxation of the thoughts that you help with. And I know that there's a chemical component to how people transition. And I mean, I've done neuroemotional technique. I've done neuromastery work. So how do you process the KST framework into the emotional side of the patient or practice member?
Oh man, James, I'm gonna mess with some people's brains, and I someone like you, you're gonna go, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and other people are gonna look at me like, what the crap are you talking about? So one of the things that we start out when we are, so the KST is what we utilize to check someone is what's called an occipital drop check. It's like a leg length and an activator. It's like a muscle strength and AK, but we utilize this no yes body response. We'll start with a question with someone and just simply say, if it was you, say, James, do me a favor, just say out loud, I am James, right? And if someone says that and we check for it on the backside, it goes, nope, there's just a flat response to that. People say, I don't feel like myself. And there's stuff that we can do within KST, basically have them kind of hold onto themselves and say it again. And we check for priorities, clear it out, and get them to register to themselves first before you're doing any other evaluation with them. And then you can look at sympathetic, parasympathetic, autonomic, and enteric nervous systems as well to make sure all of those fire properly. And then what happens is we tie into this thing, and there's a kind of edge into this thing called neural processing. It's a process that I put together based on one kid with one statement a few years ago. But what allows us to look at is, does the body truly see statements as reality, as fact, as what they should be? And this kid was a problematic kid in his classroom. He had been kicked out of 3 schools. He was a problem child. And I wanted him to just simply say, my brain hears what my ears hear. And this kid said, what? Said, I want you to say to me, my brain hears what my ears hear. And he said, what? And so we were able to clear this kid out, realized he was not hearing. His brain literally was not processing what the tympanic membrane was picking up. Through the KST process, able to get this stuff to register, get it online. This kid became a straight A student. And it started a mechanism in my brain to go, man, there's something about this idea of being able to say something and have the body have a response to it. And there's other techniques that are out there, but this really is kind of a standalone integrated into KST. We've labeled it neural processing. At this point, we have a manual that's 100 pages of single line phrases for a massive range of topics. But when someone says it, oftentimes they will not be able to get the words out. We can clear them, adjust priorities for that, and people's lives and bodies change. Tears happen on a regular basis in our office because they're processing emotions and getting that stuff out, so they're not living with it.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company, attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle. Well, that's really what I teed up for you to answer, because when I was talking to Mandy Keene about personality profiles, I was like, hey, so over time, do they change? She's like, well, of course. When people's lives develop in a different pathway to a new job or a new partner, or they have a kid or they move, like, yeah, your everything shifts. So I was like, so thoughts, traumas, and toxins, they're always in evolution with the personality traits. She's like, yes. And I think that you said something profound earlier, is it could be C5 that's stuck, but really the energy is not the priority. The energy is in the talus, or the energies in the pubic bone, or the energies in the calcaneus.
Yep.
Like there's a part of the body that's holding the energy that becomes priority. And you might need them to like stand on one leg and adjust them.
Correct.
To where they're in that motion stance, to where you're adjusting them at the right specific vector. And it's not just laying down. It's not just a static adjustment. It's not just a toggle. It's whatever you find is the right place with the right posturing to adjust them, and is what you go after.
Man, you are speaking my love language, my friend. That is every day, all day long, what we are talking about and what I try to teach folks. And if we're willing to kind of park what we've learned and what is right in the mechanism of whatever technique you've learned, and be willing to humble yourself to the innate intelligence of the body and find out it may not be a C5, but they need to be, standing on one leg, like you said, and adjusting an occiput. Can you and do you do what the body's looking for? And I think that's the joy and the my heartbeat is to try to turn people's hearts and minds to realize that is vital, and that is honoring the innate intelligence, not just doing what my educated brain has been taught to do because it's what I think I should do.
Well, it's a systematic approach that's different. And it follows a different framework of intuition. It follows a different framework of that specific person in time and space.
Yes.
And that's what people as a whole don't understand about chiropractic.
Yeah.
So when I talk to people about how they evolve through care, why wouldn't you want to get checked weekly and adjusted if necessary from the first breath to the last breath of life? And quality of life is not being stuck and subluxated. So I think thoughts, traumas, and toxins, when BJ came up with that, was real true, is that those are the things that make people subluxated and cause dysfunction and impede people from high quality frequency life. So as I started to understand the profession from a mathematic level, working in a chiropractic biophysics clinic, getting people back to a baseline curve, I also think that that's highly important too, because it's research. You can research it and you can demonstrate research to the grand public, and they can see that chiropractic is making a shift in the dynamics of the forward head posture, equaling better heart rate variability, equaling when we correct the lordosis into the cervical curve, we're changing vital lung capacity. we're making an impact on the chemistry of life inside of a body, like what Reggie Gold would say. But he was very well spoken, but he wasn't showing the research papers. But now when I think about like the more the esoteric style component to, chiropractic as the more physical medicine side of chiropractic, there's a place for all of it. And that gets me to like the next question with you is like, how do people decide on the technique and the flow state that they go into to become a practitioner, and what type of artist that they decide to hone in on? How do you see, as you've been helping guide people into KST, how do you see people finding how they become a chiropractic artist?
I think it's exposure, and I think it's vital exposure. It's things like your podcast, having people listen to different voices and hear something else and go, oh, man, I never knew that.
I know.
And all of a sudden have something resonate. For me, I graduated October of 1991. I went to my very first pediatric seminar, November of 1991. And I sat in that audience and went, this is what I'm meant to do. And I knew it. And it was, the hand of God went, I want you to do this work. But it was through exposure to that. And so I do think, the chiropractic students, they do need to look at the different things. They do need to look at different techniques. But my other issue is we become technique gurus, and we get so stuck on the technique that, I'm a Gonstead dude and that's all I do. And God bless Gonstead. There's some great stuff with it. But if the body needs something different, are we willing to do that? And what happens over time, and I think it's consistently, unfortunately with KST, at times we kind of get tagged into the woo-woo stuff or energetic stuff. I was not that guy, but by exposure to it and go, man, that is something that is valuable. And so I think everyone listening to this thing should be looking at those different techniques, and there's going to be something deep inside their heart. It's that special something that's going to be inside that's going to go, doc, this is what I want you doing. And they should dive deep into learning that stuff. And if KST can help people integrate whatever they've learned deeper, then, that's what we're here for as well, to help them maybe figure out what they want to do.
What I heard there is it's okay to develop your technique and to become a different practitioner throughout your career based on your interests and how you develop as a practitioner. And I think that that's the responsible thing for people to pull away from an episode like this is you don't have to live dogmatic to say just because you decided 20 years ago that was a practice method you were going to follow, that KST isn't a solution for you now in practice. Or 5 years into practice, you practice just Palmer package, and now you're finding that there is a place for network in your practice, or you're finding that there is a place for Talski tonal in your office. Like, I think that there's a different language. As I said, a lot of things happen in our lives over time where we start developing different types of ideas and behaviors, and we have to demonstrate to the practice what we find to be our truth. And that's what I was talking about to you earlier, is like my North Star project is 1,000 episodes. Yeah. I'm going to learn as much as I can, and I'm going to titrate my genius as much as I can with guys like you that have your specific knowledge base. And I'm going to learn through osmosis the best I can and start creating a narrative for the public to understand chiropractic better, to where they don't just think it's about pain, to where they just don't think it's about an expensive Advil to go get adjusted. And just, I think that when people understand that chiropractic, like I was talking to you off camera, there's some 500 techniques out there. What is best for you? What is best for that person in front of you? Well, that's determinant upon who the practitioner is and how they evolve in the science, philosophy, and art of chiropractic and what they decide is the right method to go on. Sometimes I'll get up on stage, Dr. Kevin, and I'll say, if another chiropractor comes to me and they tell me they don't like another chiropractor based on XYZ, I'm just going to walk away and not talk to them anymore. But the reason I say that is because if I go to your practice, even if I go to Ted's, like, he's going to treat me different and take care of me different than you do. Yes. So I say, every chiropractor, just know this. All of you guys are artists. All you guys are going to adjust with the techniques that you find in your skill sets and in your belief patterns and how you feel should be applied. And I go, not one chiropractor is going to adjust like the next chiropractor. So we have to start saying, hey, I love my brothers and sisters in chiropractic because they're all artists and they all perform their technique based on what they find their analysis to be. And they're always going to do the right thing based on the person on their table.
Yeah. And if I can also be a love and encouragement to the chiropractors listening to this is also a reminder, you won't be able to take care of every person that comes into your office as well, because people are also going to gravitate to people that they are attracted to. And whether that's a technique, a personality, don't chase patients down, love them, educate them, tell them what you have to offer. And if you are not it and they go to another chiropractor, at least they're doing something different. It may not be you. Please know that you can't be everything to everyone, and allow patients to come and go, also based on what they desire and what they're trying to get out of life.
And we can't take chiropractic personal as a practitioner. No. And, people are going to come in through referral. They're going to come in through marketing. They're going to come in from a networking group. And everybody's going to be looking for a different solution for what they're dealing with. And you might be the right person for them, or you might not be. So that's another thing, is we have to work on the integrity of the emotional stability within the practitioner, because there is a lot of, meet and greet and quick breakups. Yeah. And it's a reality within the profession, and you're getting a lot of impressions by how many people you put your hands on. That was another thing. I just spoke at South Dakota Chiropractic Association, and I said, the profession out there that's closest to being biblical like Jesus is chiropractors. There's nobody else that are healing with their hands, that are putting their hands on people and seeing miracles happen for people on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
If you want to talk about like a profession that's out there healing people through the lightness and the touch, like, let's talk about that. Like, that's really how we've evolved to where we are today with chiropractic. Is there are so many low force techniques out there that are still getting these profound changes in people's physiology and their human performance. So, there's a lot that goes into this chiropractic profession. That's why I love to, there's not one day that I don't love doing what I do and talking to chiropractors, because there's always going to be somebody out there that's curious. They click on one of our episodes and they're like, I needed to hear that. Thank you. I can't tell you how many emails and how many text messages and how many people reach out and say, thanks for doing this show, because I didn't know that. And I'm thankful that I know this part about chiropractic. So I believe we're just putting together this amazing jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And each person has something to say.
Yeah. And we have to be educators as doctors in our offices as well. We need to own this stuff. We need to make sure we're educating. I'm big on the idea of, if I can adjust less things and not have to see them 3 times a week for the rest of their lives, if I can adjust them, they're holding their adjustments, their body is doing well, subluxations aren't showing up. But if I can also teach them, the physical, chemical, emotional, help them be healthier, that's a win. That is the things we should be doing on a consistent basis. And we should be encouraging the brothers and sisters in our profession to do likewise. And I would say, if you're not getting chiropractic miracles, if you're not seeing the body change, I would lovingly and encourage say that you may be adjusting compensations and not subluxations. Your specificity may be a little shy. Get to some more education, find out what's going on. And, it should be a daily occurrence that you are seeing lives change in your offices.
So you talk, and this is a theme of this conversation with you, the thoughts, traumas, toxins, physical, chemical, emotional. I know one of the things that you've helped people with is the chemical component with the allergy clearing technique. I know that that's something that you've helped establish. So let's talk about this allergy clearing technique that you've helped.
Yeah, I'll take a quick tangent on it. It is a process I created. It is not NAAT. It is not anything else that's out there. It was something that I put together within the KST protocol. There is an allergy protocol within that. For some people, that's sufficient, and it worked well for them. In my family, for my daughter, it didn't. And I started into the discovery process of trying to figure out how can I get my daughter better. We lived 8 years of the elimination lifestyle. My daughter had literally at the college campus, there was nothing on the college campus my daughter could eat. Worked at putting together allergy clearing technique. It is a very simple thing. The best way I could describe it is a power panel on a home. There's 8 little switches on the body, and with the power panel, right? If the body's working the way it's supposed to, it's like the power panel. If your house is working, you never touch the panel. But if it blows a circuit, you can go to the power, flick the little switch and get it back on. And that's what allergy clearing technique is. It's an entire system to evaluate what the body's doing, to be able to look at the systems of digestion, elimination, and then a very simple process to get the body to reboot itself. There are limitations. It is not perfect for everyone, but it radically changed my own life and my daughter's life. I know it works. I've seen it work. Have a bunch of people that have picked up the training package for that, and are seeing success in their own practices outside of it. It's just not my superpower. It's a very teachable, simple thing.
Well, I know you have a seminar coming up in London in July.
Yeah.
Is that something that people can learn from you while you're over there too?
Anytime I'm there, we always make it available. We just did a podcast on allergy clearing technique. We've got about at the end of this year, we'll have 30 podcasts we have done on KST. The last one we just did was on allergy clearing technique. So there's information available out there on that. And if someone wants to pick up the training package, if they're in London, we'll absolutely have an opportunity to talk about that and they could pick it up. We are going to be teaching a full KST class in London. I think whatever that weekend is, July 5th and 6th, I believe it is, that we'll be there. So if you know anyone in Europe that wants to come and learn KST and get exposed to neuroprocessing and allergy clearing technique, we'd love to have you guys come and join us.
That's cool. And a little bit more, you've created a pregnancy pillow, it looks like. And like I said earlier in the episode, I believe you should have chiropractic in your life from first breath to last breath. And it sounds like the pregnancy pillow could be a good component to people's practices also. So share with us a little bit about that.
Sure. That's another one. I drive my wife nuts because my brain is constantly going. I'm also writing a book. I have a bunch of other inventions I've done, but a pregnancy pillow was something that was just out of necessity. The one that I loved back in the day, 40 years ago, is not available, or 30 years ago when I graduated. And so I created it. I produce them. I make them. It's bbbpregnancypillow.com is the website. But it is designed for chiropractors, but it's also, I made it at a price point that patients could also pick it up and use it at home, because there are moms that love and miss being on their stomach and their hips are killing them from laying on their sides. And they're not side sleepers. They like sleeping on their stomach. And so the pregnancy pillow is designed for that. It comes in a pillowcase, but it's also made with, you can put in a standard pillowcase for like massage therapists that they can do linen changes. But it's bbbpregnancypillow.com. Just a really simple, cool little design that I made and tested on my own patients to get me there. And it's pretty simple. Appreciate you asking about it.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had a really fun career, and not just a practicing chiropractic, but an educator, an innovator, and teaching people how to take care of the human frame, the Edison quote. And I think it's really cool that you've learned to follow the priority pattern and find out where people's misalignment is. It's not just where it's fixated. Sometimes it's compensatory.
Yeah.
And I think, our conversation was pretty enlightening to me today, and hopefully it helps our listeners understand the KST approach. And that's Koren Specific Technique. Founder's Ted Koren. And I think it's really cool that I had a chance to meet Ted. I was telling you, over in Oxford, England, back in 2017. And I saw him doing this to some people and doing the technique. And I mean, I still was like clueless about like different techniques at that point.
Yeah.
I was just really like curious as to what he was doing, and he did the technique on me, and I got a chance to understand it. So that's why when you were like, hey, let's do a podcast on this technique, I was like, I kind of already have a framework of knowledge because I've had it, that type of care before. So it's just really interesting to hear your perspective on it. I thought our conversation was really smooth and fun. and we talked a lot about things that you're excited about, and helping people learn this Koren Specific Technique as an educator within the process now. So at this juncture, I always give people the option. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today? Because I know I send out a lot of questions. We didn't cover them all.
Yeah, James, really one of the quick things, if someone does want to find out about us, the easiest way to do that is kstTV.KorenSpecificTechnique.com. That is the best place for them to get all the details of what we're up to. It's kstTV.KorenSpecificTechnique.com. More than anything else, James, I appreciate it. I think we've covered a lot of things. At some point, I could probably be on another 2 or 3 or 4 hours with you, because there's a whole bunch of the things that are on my heart. But I appreciate what we've talked about. I do think people need to be evaluating more specific. I think we need to be adjusting more specific. I think that we need to be constant learners in our lives. We should never, ever be thinking that we have learned it all. I've attended so many seminars and taught seminars, and I continue to learn at every seminar. I think that needs to be our heartbeat in our profession, to be constantly learning and integrating for the benefit of our patients. And so hopefully, if even one person that's listening to this says, man, that'll make a difference, and another life has changed because of it, it's been worth our time. And I appreciate you.
Yeah, Dr. Kevin, it was a fun episode for me to be a part of. And I like I said, through osmosis, I learned something from every practitioner I get to talk to. And to me, this is a legacy project. And last time I spoke over in London was at the United Chiropractic Association last fall. And my closing statement was, in 100 years, will they remember you for being a chiropractor? Well, they'll remember me for being a chiropractic advocate. Yeah. And I was like, you guys got work to do.
Yeah.
If you want people to remember the legacy that you've left, go work more, do more, touch more lives, and build something really special for this beautiful profession of chiropractic. And from our episode today, I believe you're doing that. So
I appreciate it.
It's cool to hear that you spent some time in my hometown, Davenport, Iowa, and went to Palmer College of Chiropractic, and it's fun to get to know you. So if you guys want a pregnancy pillow, go to bbbpregnancypillows.com. And if you guys wanted to check out the Koren Specific Technique, I'll let Dr. Kevin tell you what that is again, because I didn't write it down.
That's all right. It's kstTV.KorenSpecificTechnique.com. And with the pillow, it is pillow, not pillows. It's not plural. So it's bbbpregnancypillow.com.
Great. Well, awesome. Thanks for the clarity there. Thanks for being my guest today. And I'm going to close out like I always do and tell everybody, you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
All right. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.